to get
Yeah,
to any
delay.
resolution.
Well, we have John's report, so that's okay. You still can't do the tablets, huh? We could give you the password. Everything's online now, so.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I have it all
Oh, you
printed.
got the password, because you got the confidential one.
Oh, Ralph did it for me.
Huh? Oh, you
Ralph
did?
printed it for me. Yep. So,
Thank you so much.
She said when you get a
Appreciate
chance.
She had tried to call me
Um,
and immediately texted me, I didn't answer. She couldn't get her cable box working. Hi, Fred.
that's,
All right, thank you.
that's valid. That's a valid call.
just need to decide what you want to do because he delivered the doors.
Can you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you and good evening. Today is Tuesday, July 9th. It's a little after 7:30. We just came from executive session where we were discussing personnel appointments. Our first matter on our agenda is a report and recommendation from the Intermunicipal Airport Master Plan Task Force regarding Westchester County's renewal of the Westchester County Airline Terminal Use Agreement, the TUA. So, just as a reminder, we had passed a resolution, I don't even know when, I apologize. It had been a couple of months ago.
January, I think
We
it
had,
was?
yeah,
It was
something
January.
in January. We had passed a resolution forming the task force and asking other municipalities to join, of which they did. There have been a number of meetings to date, and now we're lucky to be joined by John Mugno, who's going to give us a little bit of a report from that task force.
Right.
Please.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is John Mugno, you're correct. And I was one of the two people appointed by the board to be the Rybrook representatives on the municipal task force. The other representative on the task force from Rybrook is Peter Slaktis, who unfortunately is not able to join us tonight. He has actually kind of followed airport issues for a decade or more. He is very knowledgeable, so I'll push any really difficult questions on to Peter, and we'll get back to you tomorrow. All right, let me just give a little bit of background. On the task force, there are 7 municipalities. Each municipality appointed 2 representatives. 2 of the 14 representatives are trustees of their municipality, and 2 of the members are on the County Airport Advisory Committee. So we have a mix of kind of some very knowledgeable people about airport issues and some people who are knowledgeable about the political process in various municipalities. So this, I think, has been a very good thing. The Intermunicipal Task Force has 2 goals. The first goal is to review and comment on the master plan, which hasn't come out yet, as you all know. The second was to advise on issues of concern regarding the upcoming expiration date and renewal process of the TUA. The reason we're having you here with this resolution is because there's a need to act urgently. We didn't quite realize until June, our June meeting, that many of the municipalities have a very truncated meeting schedule in the summer. Some apparently have only 1 meeting. So we felt it imperative to get the resolution in everybody's hands so we could take action and get it in the resolutions because I'd prefer to have many, more than one, in the hands of the county so that they can begin their negotiations with the airlines. This is especially critical for the budget of next year, because the budget for the airlines is due November 1st. And what we want to include in that budget, it's for discussion with the airlines due November 1st. What we want in that budget is a line item that gives some funding to the EMS. I will tell you that we raised this issue, thanks to Chris, who briefed me on it. We raised this issue in the committee, and many of them are not directly involved in this, but all of them saw the justice and reason of the request we were making. So there's no opposition as near as I can tell. Now, the next thing is there are several other issues that the committee is going to talk about when the municipal task force looks at the master plan. Those issues, just to let you know, are noise, air pollution, water management, the EMS annual payment, passenger experience, fixed base operations, and King Street traffic. The only one that's a bit of an outlier is King Street traffic, but you may hear about that later, because I think Portchester and Greenwich are going to want to approach Rybrook about what they regard as King Street traffic issues. So it's kind of working to bring out in the municipalities issues and where they think they should be cooperating with one another. Now, the TUA resolution, the subcommittee's note, the subcommittee was Martha Monserrat from Rice City, Peter Schlachtis of Rybrook, and Jacine Alcente, who's a trustee in Portchester. The three of them put together that 4-page document plus the draft resolution. And I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but let me just go over a couple of key points which are important for the resolution we're asking you to consider. The first is that scheduled airlines, which account for less than 20% of takeoffs and landings, all must sign a terminal use agreement. Secondly, the task force believes the current terminal use agreements, which are identical for each airline, and which have been in effect basically in this form, I understand, for something like 35 years, have been successful in limiting flights by scheduled commercial airlines using the main terminal. The committee decided that this was a very effective approach. It's worked for several decades, and there's danger in trying to challenge the underlying assumptions to that approach. So after some discussion within the task force, it was decided that the way the terminal use agreement works is good, and it should be continued with some minor modifications. The minor modifications are that the tenor has been 10 years original term plus 2 5-year extensions at the option of the county. And the task force is proposing a 20-year original term. I've worked in finance my whole career. I have to say, somebody gives me a free option, I always take it. But they have persuaded me that a 20-year original term would be better for the communities than having the option exercised, basically because you don't know what the circumstances will be when there's the 5-year period needs to be exercised. So they decided they'd prefer not to run that risk. And recent lease agreements with the fixed base operators, that's like NetJets and others like that, and JP Morgan, for example, the corporates, those leases have been recently signed for 30 years. So we're not talking about something that's out of the question. The second issue the task force would like to see pursued is that there be a uniform terminal use agreement for every airline, the duration uniform for every airline whenever an airline signs up. They believe it's not to the county's advantage to have them all, as they do today, expire on the same day. They would prefer they be staggered. The third point is airlines under the current terminal use agreements agree not to challenge the TUP, that's the terminal use procedures, which is the law that governs the terminal use agreements, during the period it is in effect and for 30 days afterward. They propose changing the 30 days to 90 days. And then finally, they all propose we add an annual payment for EMS services to the airline costs that they're already paying. And that, I can hopefully answer your questions, but that's the summary of what we're looking to do.
Great, thank you. No, we really appreciate all the work that's gone into this, from you and Peter, but also from the other 6 municipalities that have participated in this. I think this is something that's for the benefit of all the communities around here. I think everyone I would imagine that most people in Rybrook and the surrounding communities like the way that the airport is run currently. We're very lucky to have the TUA and the ability to put it in place. It's one of the few, if not the only, if I believe, airport in the country that's able to have those protections because they're grandfathered in, which is
Which is
we're
why we
very
don't
lucky
want
to have.
You
And
don't
I-
want to rock it too much, yeah.
yeah, we don't want to rock it too much. And again, it was my understanding when the previous county administration was looking to change some of this, that any changes to the TUA could potentially allow the FAA to come in and negate it. So we certainly want to protect this TUA as much as we possibly can. And again, for the benefit of the surrounding communities. I've read this. I personally don't have any questions. I think, the addition of a potential EMS charge would be something great that as has been noted, it's the Portchester Rybrook EMS that's making a lot of the calls to the airport. And so being able to get some compensation for that, for an expense that's being shared solely among those 3 communities, would be something beneficial to help alleviate those costs.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Yeah, please.
Just to say that was discussed in the task force, and everyone in the task force from all the communities thought it was a good idea. They saw it as a matter of justice.
Yeah,
Great.
bless you. And it really is. I mean, as something that's that's serving a community outside of those 3. So,
If I could just add a couple of items
Please.
as factual. So the EMS payment would not be borne by the general Westchester County taxpayers because it's from funds raised at the airport. That's the way their budget has to work in that regard. But there are, as John said, there's so many important things in the terminal use agreement. A couple of the ones that are just mentioned. So this covers any airline that sells tickets to the public for any airplane that has at least 9 seats. So that's pretty much any size of any substantial sized aircraft that goes out of the main terminal. Also limits the main terminal to 4 gates, which is a very important restriction. And the other thing that's probably one of the biggest items is it limits it to 240 passengers per half hour, except for certain peak holiday periods. So it limits it both arriving and leaving the airport. How many planes could be there? How many can be using the gates? And how many passengers can be on them? There's a lot of other things in it too, but those are some of the key factors that really come into play with the use agreement.
Chris?
Raise a good point.
Chris, is the 240, isn't that the number now also?
yes.
That is the number now.
Yes.
Just to add to what you said, if you saw the Westmore News, last week's edition, they had an article on JSX, which had been challenging the terminal
Right.
use procedures because it wanted to run bigger aircraft out of the fixed base operation terminals.
Yep. And there's litigation that was involved between the county and those operators.
And a federal court
Yep.
decided that the county had the
Which is definitely beneficial. I mean, otherwise it would have opened up, you know, a
Bypassing
slew of
the
potential,
TUAs.
Yeah.
Yep.
Operators, you know, acting almost as commercial airlines, even though, you know, I guess they're registered not.
Very good.
Any other questions from the board? I know we have a resolution on this. Any questions about the presentation? And then we'll move into the resolution.
I would just like to thank you for a really excellent presentation. It was clarifying, and I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, and again, just thank you to yourself, to Peter, and everyone else on that task force. It's you know, it's never easy looking into these things, especially when you're looking into long documents. You know, and trying to represent so many varied communities in a uniform voice. And I think that the creation of this task force is important because it also shows the county and those operating the airport how important this is to those communities. And just so everyone's aware, also other communities were invited. Some declined to participate.
Yeah, but I think it's great that there's 7 communities in 2 different states that are that are working
Yeah.
together.
Greenwich is on.
Pretty incredible. And as I understand, everybody found it to be a really good task force so far to serve on. And there's a lot more ahead. They're going to be doing a tour of the airport for anyone that's available and learn more about it. And then there'll be another part, as John said, working on issues regarding commenting on the master plan.
Master
update.
plan, yeah.
Which we'll have a little more lead time on.
As you said, be flooding. I know, like Rye is very concerned, as we are, with flooding issues and stormwater, as well as all the other issues and noise and traffic, as you said, all the different issues that were mentioned earlier.
Absolutely, and I often, and as I was just saying to John before the meeting, and that I've set up here, I often make the argument that I believe there's no other community that the airport has a bigger effect on than Rybrook. That the stormwater from the airport flows directly into Rybrook, which is why we get the smell of the de-icing fluids during the winter. No other municipality has residences within a quarter mile of the runway on the flight path. And so it's and a lot of other issues, there's clearly anything that happens at the airport has a direct effect on Rybrook. And so it's imperative that and why we've always had an airport advisory board within the village, but why we also see fit to take on things like this.
And I think it is important to make the distinction. So I got asked actually the question earlier today, what about the stormwater? What about the noise? What about the other? And I said, that's still very serious issues, but those are a separate issue than the terminal use agreement matters.
Yeah, those are related more to the master plan and the operations. This is specifically about the commercial airlines and their use of the airport.
Yes.
The woman who did the bulk of the drafting on the resolution is from Rye City. If you ask the Rye City people, we asked everybody, list your 3 issues on the airport. Rye City's issue is water, water, water.
Yeah, yes, clearly. And to that, from the airport it flows into the Blind Brook, and, as we're well aware, the village of Rybrook is taking many and drastic steps to try and reduce downstream flooding, including the buyout program that is progressing. And many others, we're looking into stormwater storage, we're looking into a lot of areas along the Blind Brook as well. All right, well, thank you for your report.
All right, thank you.
All right, let's move right into the resolution.
Okay. Whereas on January 23rd, 2024, Rybrook appointed representatives Peter Schlatis and John Mugno to serve on the Intermunicipal Airport Master Plan Task Force, comprised of representatives of the City of Rye, the Village of Rybrook, Village of Portchester, Town of Greenwich, Town of Newcastle, and Town of North Castle. And whereas the task force has met on 4 occasions in 2024 to deliberate on community concerns related to the operations at the county airport. And whereas the task force has unanimously voted in favor of reaffirming the substance of the existing terminal use agreements signed with the airlines, which expire on December 31st, 2024, pursuant to the 2004 Westchester County Terminal Use Procedures Law, as successor and complement to the 1994 Westchester County Airport Terminal Capacity Affirmation and Extension Agreement. And whereas the task force unanimously supports adjusting the terminal use fees, terminal operating costs, and ground handling service fees contained in the TUA to represent current costs to the county. And whereas the task force unanimously supports the compensation of costs for the EMS service provided by the Portchester Rye-Rybrook EMS Emergency Medical Services. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village of Rybrook adopts the findings of the task force related to the TUAs and recommends that Westchester County negotiate at its earliest convenience new TUAs with all commercial airlines operating at the airport with the following provisions. 1. TUA terms of 20 years or more, possibly with extensions if deemed appropriate by the county, but not less than 10 years, with 2 5-year extensions. 2. TUA terms of a uniform duration for all TUAs as opposed to single expiration date. 3. A provision that extends the airline's agreement not to challenge the validity or legality of the TUP for 90 days following the expiration of the TUAs. 4. Fees and costs enumerated in the current TUAs adjusted to reflect current costs. We leave it up to the discretion of the county whether to include the compensation of EMS costs to the EMS organization as part of the revised TUA or through some other mechanism.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
And again, this resolution shows a report of shows our support of these findings. And I'm assuming, Chris, this gets sent to the county along with any other resolution that other municipalities are passing.
Yep, we'll be sending with the county administration and the county board of legislators, but we're going to bunch them together with some other ones as well. I know at least one other community is going next week already, so yeah, so they're starting to move on it, which is good news.
Wonderful. Any questions or comments about the resolution from the board?
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino?
Yes.
And Mayor Klein.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, John, and again, thank you to every participating member of the task force.
And while John's here, we should thank him for all his efforts on Rybrook Focus, too. He's
Yeah,
now
that
done
too.
to how many episodes? 20? How many episodes?
Got over 25.
Over 25 episodes,
25.
which is just incredible. And really topical interest. Please encourage residents to go and take a look at our website, and there's links to YouTube where all 25 or so episodes are on various topics, from community leaders to people within government, people outside government, but it's a good way to just find out about topical issues about the community. And meet those people. Thank you, John. And they're all, about 20 minutes to half hour? 20 to 40 minutes, so a reasonable duration. There's nothing on Netflix anyhow anymore, so, it's time to try a different show.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, John.
I seem to be losing my connection. All right. Yeah. Something's going on.
Sure, you want me to read?
No, so I have the agenda here. I'm just having trouble loading up the resolution itself. So resolution number 2, considering a request for an exemption extension of Chapter 158, Section 2.1 of the Village Code regarding a seasonal leaf blower ban for 699 Westchester Ave, the former Westchester Hilton property.
Whereas on April 11th, 2023, the Board of Trustees approved a local law enacting a seasonal gas-powered leaf blower ban from May 1st through September 30th, effective May 1st of this year. And whereas the Village Code, under the Village Code, properties with at least 5 acres can apply for a full or partial extension or exemption of the local law. And whereas an application has been distributed to known eligible properties in the village and also placed on the website. And whereas on July 4th, Janila Bahardi of 699 Westchester Avenue, the former Westchester Hilton property, submitted an application for exemption from the requirements of the local law requiring a seasonal ban on gas-powered leaf blowers. Now therefore be it resolved, after consideration of the intent of the local law as well as considerations raised by the application from representatives of 699 Westchester Avenue, the Village of Rybrook hereby either approves or denies the request for the exemption enacting a leaf blower ban at 699 Westchester Avenue through September 30th of whatever year, if it's granted, and if there's any conditions. So it's kind of an outline of a resolution that was for the board to discuss.
All right, thank you, Chris, and we'll hold off on the resolution. I noticed that you skipped over the typos.
Yes.
So we'll get that fixed. We'll get that fixed in the actual resolution along with the wording. And we have a representative from 699 Westchester. All right, please.
My name is Juan Almonte. I represent Janila. Is on vacation right now, so and the point is, we have it. I know you have your board is the town has got the issue with the leaf blower. The problem is we have it 7.5 acre. So right now we have it the hotel is closed, but we have really huge public area. So and Bobo tennis court, a lot of people coming every day, and I'm here because Mr. Monchera say yes, he can come. And we have a live battery. It's not enough for the huge place, and we have a big wagon to the battery. Actually, it's not working. Look at this is the map for the property, and then all the yellow is open area. So, and when you pass by there, you cannot see the building because it's really have a lot of trees there, and for now we try to clean it with the electrical blower around the building only. So this is only I can do now with the and you know this is her own company, the landscaping company, only 3 people, and we have the electrical equipment for now, and we try to apply for the maybe I don't know 2 years, and then after that we can working in the big equipment. For now, I don't know. Sorry, I'm
No worries.
nervous.
That's okay, and don't be nervous. We've actually seen a number of these. So, and just as a couple of quick questions, you said you have a few electric leaf blowers that we use.
Yes, we
That
have
you
a,
use?
we got three. We have 3 guys working, and then each one have one.
Of the
So,
electric,
Yes.
not the gas powered. And you're using those currently?
Yes, I would use that one around the building only because the battery
Right.
is not.
And then you're applying so that you can use the gas ones in the
Yeah,
parking
for clean
areas.
the rest
and
of the
the-
building. You know.
So
this is-
all right. So around the buildings though, you're using the electric.
Yes.
Okay. And all right. I mean, my personal opinion, I think, is just to grant the 1 year. I mean, it's kind of not doing much at this point because it's already July. I would just suggest to the owner of the company that next year maybe apply for this back in like February or March, so that that we're able to get you on the agenda prior to because now it's already July and it's kind of this is really only in effect from May through the end of September.
Okay.
And then once you hit the leaf season, the gas powers are allowed in the village, and also for the spring cleanup. Certainly, any other questions or comments from the board?
How many days a week do you work on the property?
And this property would before after we can use the gas blower. We use it 2 days, back and the front. So now we have to use 3.5 days for finish clean the property. We got a lot of, for example, 113 King Street. So we do the property too, and with electrical And as possible, finish on 1 day or 2 days.
Can I
Because
ask-
the battery is,
There aren't
not
too many
enough.
neighbors that'll be affected by the noise.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, the neighbors aren't nearby, which is nice. Can I ask a clarification? When you say you use the electric around the building, what do you use? I know in the back there's the patio and the open,
Yes,
towards
in
the
the
pool.
front area.
So is it just the front area or the,
Only front area.
only the front? Okay.
Because,
I know the back is a big, pretty big back.
batteries, we buy two battery spare for each blower. It's only get 40 minutes, 2 battery and you know.
Right. Understood.
So to clarify, it's the front of the building that they're using the electric.
Yeah.
Because the back is pretty, there's a big area in the back.
Big area in there, right. All right, questions? I mean, my personal opinion is to grant a 1 year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I get a, all right, so, can I get a motion in second, please?
Want me to read what you're doing?
Yeah, can you read it as,
Okay, I think, tell me the board if
Whereas.
this is correct. So, whereas after consideration of the intent of the local law as well as the considerations in the application, the representatives of 699 Westchester Avenue in the village, the Board of Trustees hereby approves the request for exemption of the village code enacting the leaf blower ban for 699 Westchester Avenue through September 30th, 2024, which is a 1 year, because it ends then.
correct?
With the following conditions. It's going to be that the electric blowers shall continue to be used around the front of the building.
Yes, sir.
In the
Sound
front,
okay?
front adjacent to the
Yeah,
building.
so what this does is it gives you the exemption just through September 30th of this year.
Okay.
But then gas-powered leaf blowers are allowed again until May of 2025. So then in February or March of 2025, I would suggest that you come a little earlier. You can apply if you need be. I mean, for all we know, by then you've switched over to all electric and everything's working well, and you don't need to come for that.
Yes.
That would be our hope. But again, if you need to apply for another exemption, come in February or March, and then it would be considered by the board whether to grant or deny that, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
Does the resolution, all right, sound okay? All right, can I get a motion and second on the resolution, please?
Motion. Second.
All right, Greg, I think we're.
Trustee Fisher,
Yes.
Trustee Heiser,
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
and Mayor Klein.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, resolution number 3, considering the appointment of a police officer.
Now therefore be resolved that Darren Sekenikoff of Valley Cottage, New York is hereby conditionally appointed to the position of police officer with the Village of Rybrook, subject to the civil service procedures of the state of New York, and according to the offer letter dated June 27th, 2024. Be it further resolved, the annual salary is $60,983 with an effective estimated start date of July 29th, 2024.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and second?
Motion.
Second.
All right, Chief, do you want to say anything, or?
Sure. Darren came to us from New York City Police Department. He's the first person we're taking as a transfer from New York City Police Department under the change in New York State law that happened this year. Still contingent appointment. We still need to send all his paperwork up to Westchester County personnel for approval, but we're hoping that we'll have that taken care of soon. He went through his medical and passed that, so we're looking forward to having there. He's a detective with 8 years on, and he worked in the intelligence unit in counterterrorism in New York City. So it'll be a culture shock for him.
Yeah.
How did I do it on the last name? Sekenikoff?
I just called him Darren.
All right.
There we go. And and we're very happy to be welcoming
Yeah,
him to
very excited.
the force. I'm assuming once everything gets cleared through, we'll have a chance to meet him.
Yeah, you have a couple of people to meet, so.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, Trevor also, so I'm just trying to wait for Trevor to be working on the P tour when there's a meeting night to get him up here to meet him, Trevor Burns.
Right.
Yeah.
Does and for this officer, I'm just curious, I mean, do we have to special order the name? I mean, that's, does it fit? All right. Well, we're very excited. I mean, from everything I've heard, he seems like a very competent officer, just someone who is going to fit in well on the police force, really bring a great level of professionalism, and we're very excited to have him join us.
Yes, he came highly recommended by a few of my colleagues in the New York State Chiefs Association, so I'm very happy to be able to bring him aboard.
Great. Well, we look forward to officially welcoming him in the near future.
Greg, quick question. We didn't allow transfers before? From New York City?
New York City police officers could not transfer out of New York City. We had to hire New York City police officers off the civil service list. But the law changed in 2024.
And what was the reason for the city to do that, put that restriction?
They were trying
The
to...
losing people?
They were trying to
Keep-
prevent badge drain.
Ah.
So I don't understand. It's very it's puzzling why New York City, the New York City centric legislature in New York State allowed
That to
this
happen?
law to pass.
Oh, this will.
But we're glad because
Yeah, it helps all these municipalities.
it increased the pool of candidates for us.
Yeah, tremendously.
Absolutely.
Tremendously, yeah. Good,
Yeah.
great. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the board? All right.
Trustee Fisher,
Yes.
Trustee Heiser,
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes,
and Mayor Klein.
Yes, thank you, and we again congratulate Darren and look forward to welcoming him to the force. All right, resolution number 4, considering the appointment of a fire training officer, part-time.
Now therefore be it resolved that Richard Dempsey of 132 Bradley Road, Scarsdale, New York, is hereby appointed to the position of fire training officer part-time for the Village of Rybrook, subject to the civil service procedures of the state of New York, and according to the offer date letter dated July 5th, 2024. Be it further resolved that the compensation for this position is $45 per hour, with an effective start date of July 15th, 2024.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and second?
motion.
So moved.
We're certainly familiar with this resolution. Chris, is there anything you wanted to give back?
No, he's done this for a number of years as a consultant for us. He's done a great job. We think we have an excellent training program for the Rybrook firefighters, and but now he, due to New York State, as a retiree in New York State, he needs to now become an employee, and we need a Section 211 waiver also from New York State in order for him to be able to continue.
Great.
A 211 waiver is basically saying, as a retiree, he can continue to work without the income restrictions that New York State puts in place.
All right. Any questions or comments from the board?
No,
Trustee Fisher,
Yes.
Trustee Heiser,
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
yes,
and Mayor Klein.
Yes, and thank you. We appreciate the continuing services. All right, resolution number 5, considering rejecting contract 2409 Exterminator service.
Whereas the village has solicited bids for contract 2409 Exterminator service for the Village of Rybrook properties, and whereas the bid for contract 2409 was advertised in the Westmore News on June 7th, was also made available on the Empire State Purchasing Group, and whereas on June 24th at 10:30, the following bids were opened in Rybrook Village Hall for contract 24-09. We received 4 bids, one from Pest Pest Solutions, another from Veganix Pest Management, another from Parkway Pest Services, another from Sure Shot Pest Control. They ranged in price, total price, this is covering Village Hall, the Firehouse, AJP Center, and the Public Works Parks Facility, and the prices in the bids range from $58,200 to $106,800. Now therefore be it resolved that because the lowest bidder did not provide a bid bond or certified check, and the other bids were higher than the budget allowance for this service, the Village of Rybrook Board of Trustees hereby rejects all bids for contract 2409 Exterminator service.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and second, please?
motion.
Second.
Well, what's the next steps? We rebid? We
Yes.
re-
We have to rebid.
republicize?
Wait, can I ask a question? So when you say they didn't provide a check, is that like something that they normally would do? Like, was there a
Yes.
reason?
So when we do the bid openings, the first things we look for is to see if it was required, which it is on pretty much every bid. They either required to have a bid bond or a certified check to guarantee that they will perform the work. Sometimes that can be corrected if it's done in a very short order. In this case, it couldn't be done. So the board really could not issue the lowest bidder the bid without that requirement. So in this case, another person also didn't have the bid bond, by the way. They didn't provide it. And the other ones were much higher in
That was the
price.
high bid.
And the
Is that
prices
tough
were much
to-
higher.
Is that something that's difficult to get?
No.
Oh.
No, it's reasonable. It's not that
No, and
expensive.
it's and obviously we don't want to enter into contract with someone who's not able to provide.
Want to
that.
make sure they can guarantee that they're going to,
Yeah.
and then we return, well, if they provide it's all returned after the bid.
Right,
Yeah.
of course.
Except to the one who gets awarded the bid.
Right. Right. Any other
And if,
questions?
beyond that, I'm referring to Stephanie on this one since she's here tonight.
Right. Any other questions or comments on
As
that?
always, I am fascinated by the differential between
Yeah.
high and low.
Yes.
It's as if they were bidding on two completely different contracts.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions, comments?
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
And Mayor Klein.
Yes, thank you, and we hope we can get the next one hopefully within budget, and otherwise we may have to re-budget. All right. Resolution number 6, considering a fiscal year 24 budget transfer and recognizing the receipt of grant funding for a fiscal year 24 capital project for police body cameras.
Now therefore be resolved that the following 2023-24 year-end budget, general fund budget transfers be approved. And there's a listing of various transfers of various amounts to basically cover areas of the budget that were over expended with areas that were under expended. And this is done, and for the purpose of this is for auditing purposes, to make sure that the accounts are funded. Again, you're funding areas that didn't have the funding with areas that have funding. So those transfers take effect. A copy of the resolutions on our website and on the agenda, back up for the agenda. And be it further resolved that in fiscal year 22-23, New York State grant funds in the amount of $60,000 for police body cameras was received and deposited into the general fund, and that the following fiscal year 23-24 budget modification be approved to reappropriate general fund unassigned fund balance to fund the established fiscal year 23-24 capital project police body worn camera replacements into that account, that capital account. So what you have here in short is a $60,000 transfer. Basically, we received grant funding for these cameras and we expended it, so you just have to be able to account for the revenue and the expenditure for that purpose.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a motion and second, please?
So moved.
Second.
I have to say, it's a good thing we trust you and Trish.
Any questions, ask, because it's there. We can explain it. It's why we have clean. It's why the audits are very
It's
clean.
why the audits, it's reasons like this that the audits are very clean year after year.
And in this case,
so-
and that's what happened in this case. The revenue we received in the prior fiscal year
Right.
got it pushed to the next fiscal year of the project, so we had to record that revenue out of the general fund receipt and put it into the capital project the next year.
Right,
And the other ones are just balancing your books at the end of the fiscal year.
right, which is extremely important to do, again, in regards to the auditing, but also the stress test. And
Yes.
really,
And for the public's purpose, we can transfer within accounts, we being departments, and through the department request through the treasurer and the administrator, but the board has to approve any fund transfers between accounts. So these are funds that are between accounts.
any questions or comments?
Transfer away.
It's the ice cream account.
All right.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
And Mayor Klein.
Yes, thank you. All right, and an add-on resolution, resolution number 7, considering awarding contract 2410, school buses for swim dates.
Whereas the Village of Rybrook has solicited bids for contract 24-10 buses for various summer camp trips, school buses. And whereas the bid was advertised in the Westmore News on June 21st and made available in the Empire State Purchasing Group bid system. And whereas at 10 a.m. on Tuesday, July 9th, all bids were received, were opened and summarized below. We received one bid from the company that's currently providing the service for us, and this is for the County Coach Corp. In the amount of $10,400. Now therefore be resolved that the Board of Trustees have determined the lowest responsible bidder, meeting the requirements of the contract documents, is County Coach Corp., 30 Nursery Lane, Rye, New York, for the bid amount of $10,400. Be it further resolved, the mayor and administrator are authorized to execute and deliver all documents necessary or appropriate to accomplish the purposes of this resolution. Before you move in second, Michael, was this put on the bid system or not? Would that have been would have put it on directly or not? Okay. Okay, I just want to make sure she would normally do it or direct, right? Okay. So it's all good.
All good?
Yeah, I just want to make sure, if not, we could have taken that part out.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right. So can I get a motion and second, please?
So moved.
Second.
And this is, these are for both rec camps, or is this just for
Just for the buses for the pool.
Just for the buses for the pool, so
Which I
it's
think
not
they-
the travel camp?
No, those were all bid out separately already and
That's
approved
what I
by the
figured.
board. So these, because we were already over the bid amount, the camp ones had to be bid out separately as an additional, because they
Gotcha.
weren't included in the first bid.
Right.
So this is additional, and I think we do, because 10,400 would have been okay, but the problem was we already did another bid, so cumulatively it's
Right.
over. So
It's
again,
over.
staying out of trouble.
Right. Okay.
So
Once or twice a week, we go over there.
I
and-
think it's 3 days a week.
3 days a week?
Yeah.
Okay. And
During camp.
just as a reminder, we previously have a separate resolution where we entered into an IMA with the
Carver Center.
Carver Center in order to provide pool time there, where we're paying for the lifeguards, and they get time at
Campers get time at Carver Center, the
Good.
pool, and they get time at
they get time at
Garibaldi.
Garibaldi.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is very nice. And
It's a great relationship, and we
these
really
days that they're at the
appreciate
camp, my understanding is they go back and forth all day for different groups, age groups and all. So we
Right.
basically get the buses for the day.
it. Right, and I'm glad we're able to use a local bus company. Questions or comments?
No.
All right.
Trustee Fisher?
Yes.
Trustee Heiser?
Yes.
Trustee Morlino,
Yes.
Mayor Klein?
Yes, thank you. Administrator's report.
Okay, just have a few items. One is just an update on the NRCS buyout, recovery buyout program. So we have 4 properties right now that are almost ready to go to closings. We'll probably be doing up to definitely 2, if not 4, in August closings. So we've asked for advancement of funds for those purposes because they're much larger amounts than we would normally put out and be reimbursed for. So the purchasing price is something that gets advanced, and then the other costs we get reimbursed for after the closing. And again, 100% coverage for the public that we get reimbursed for. We have 2 on Brook Lane, 1 on Wyman, and 1 on Rock Ridge that are all out of the 4 that are first to go. So it's kind of even spread out, which is kind of nice, showing the interest, how everyone on different areas really have that need. Summer hours for village offices and our community center, senior center, are in July and August, starting this week. So Fridays, we'll be closing the buildings at 2 p.m. We've been trying to put that information out there so the public is aware. This is a trial period for this year, and we'll see how it goes. But the staff have adjusted their schedule, and now we'll be getting out at 2 o'clock in July, the balance of July and the month of August. Recycle Coach is something that we put in an email blast. I don't know if everybody picked up on it, but it's funny, those that downloaded that app on their phone called Recycle Coach said, wow, that's a great app. It's really nice to have on my phone, which is fantastic. So this is an app that Westchester County put out and is available to all municipalities, which we participate in. And Greg Rivera, Michael Nowak, Jessica Carpentieri have all been working to put the data into this app that the county provided, and then we residents are able to just sign up, download the app Recycle Coach, and you're able to get the sanitation schedule, you're able to get your holiday reminders when the dates are changing. You could ask questions like, is this recyclable, whatever, you're asking a particular product, because people aren't sure, is styrofoam recyclable, and all those things. And they even have little quizzes, like if you want, is this recyclable or not? But it's sanitation, our bulk, our recycling, everything is on there, green waste. So if anybody just wants a nice little app and a nice reminder of holiday weeks, it's a nice app for people to consider. And it's free. And user-friendly, yeah. It's built for phones, so it's a nice app. I see everybody on their phones. Hopefully you're all downloading the app.
Yes,
Good.
that's what we're doing. Recycling. Doing that right now.
What's that? Yeah, and I put it on my phone. It's fantastic. It really is. I
What
put
is
it
the
on
name
myself.
of the app?
Recycle Coach.
Recycle Coach.
Yep. And I asked Greg to give an update on the events that are coming up. We have a lot of events in July. It's like events on steroids in July, so ask Greg to kind of go through what we have.
That it most certainly is. And I'm going to steal a little bit of your thunder because I want to mention twice that the concert series starts tomorrow night
Yep.
in Pine Ridge Park. Andrea and the Armenian
Rug Riders. Yep.
But I'll just then start piggybacking off of that. Yes, as the mayor said, tomorrow at 6:45 to 8:45 p.m. there is potentially talk of some rain in the forecast, but if that doesn't end up being the case, then we will postpone it to the following day, same exact time and same location. This Friday, we have our second Ice Cream Friday. Remember, we do them every Friday in July. And there will also be other dates, just for Friday, just to mention those, July 19th and July 26th. But please keep in mind that this Friday, in addition to having Ice Cream Friday, we also have our first of 3 movie nights, which will be under the boardwalk. That will be around 8:15. And then Ice Cream Fridays are always about 6 to 7:30. On July 20th, we have our food truck events from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. We have several different food trucks lined up. I do want to thank Liz Rotfeld for that, for her work on coordinating all those trucks. And while I did say, I also wanted to give a shout out and thank you to our recreation staff as well as our parks and highway staff for all the work that they've done, also helping prepare for these events, because there's a lot of work that the public doesn't see. And as the administrator always says, we're a small but mighty crew, so I definitely want to appreciate them for all their hard work. Moving forward to July 24th, our next Music in the Park concert series. The mayor did start briefly mentioning that. Again, there always will be at Pine Ridge Park, but about to start around 6:45. That won't be Logical Pretzel, the Steely Dan. July 20th.
The Steely Dan Band, I believe, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
the Steely
right.
Band
Yeah.
tribute.
Yes, and then July 27th, we'll have hopefully a couple events that day. From that 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., we'll have our annual tag sale, which I've been coordinating with the Sustainability Committee. Again, just a quick reminder on that for those who haven't participated yet, is that the way it works is that you participate at your own address. However, I do want to mention that some of the HOAs in Rybrook do not allow it. So if that's the case, or some residents, for one reason or another, just do not want to use their own address, there is an alternative option at 62 Bowman Avenue, which is owned by Rybrook residents. It is Forever Families Through Adoption, but they will allow residents to rent space. You do have to bring your own table, but again, if you cannot or do not want to use your own address, it's just another option available to you in order to participate. And the idea of this is to again, be a little eco-friendly as well. Again, you save up some bulk items rather than throwing it in the trash. You can make a few bucks off it, as well as preventing it from going into the landfills. Now, this one I especially do want to highlight is Adult Casino Night. That would hopefully be that same evening at King Street Athletic Field. However, I do want to be honest with this one. This one's a bit of an asterisk because we do need more signups, and that the last day to register is tomorrow. Because if we do not have more signups, then we have to cancel the event, which would be a huge bummer. And this is the first time we're doing this, as we typically, most of the events we do are for kids. So this is just an idea that came about from our events, our community event support committee that the administrator and myself are a part of, to try to get some of the older crowd to come out and have a good time amongst ourselves. You have to be 18 to get in. Again, there will be games. When we in blackjack, there'll be some mocktails. Then the winner will get
And no cash.
No real cash.
No real cash.
Posted that is a good point. Thank you, Administrator Bradbury, for mentioning that. Again, we will not be gambling with real cash, but the winner will get a nice prize at the end. But please, guys, do spread the word to sign up, because again, if we don't have more signups, then we will likely have to cancel the event, which we don't want to do. And then just as for the last Music in the Park concert series, July 31st. And again, just a reminder, again, always at Pine Ridge Park at 6:45. That one will be Kick and Nash. And we will have another one in August, but just to stick to July, because I know we have a very heavy July month. But that's pretty much the gist of it in a nutshell. But again, we do have a fun month. My plan ahead, so I just...
You mentioned the food trucks, right?
I did.
Great.
So I just would encourage all the residents to come out to make as many as you can. And just please know they're all on the website under our events section of the website. So you can always check up on there for any updates for any of the events that are going to be taking place. That's it for me.
Thank you, Greg. That's all for tonight.
All right, great. Thank you. Any questions or comments from the public? Seeing none, the next meetings of the Board of Trustees will be July 23rd and August 13th, 2024. I will not be here for the next meeting. It will be Deputy Mayor Heiser leading the meeting. Hopefully we have quorum. Everyone else can make it, I know. And thank you and have a good night.